Hello and welcome to Biblical Breadcrumbs, where we know that the love of money is the root of all kinds of evil. Thus says 1 Timothy 6. We'll get to there in class in a couple of weeks. Money is not the purpose of your life, or at least it shouldn't be, because it's not going to be very helpful for you. Get it out of there. We agree on this, and everybody vaguely understands this, especially if you're Christian, you vaguely understand this, and hopefully other people do too, that money is not that worthwhile. It's not going to be your eternal purpose. We're back in Ecclesiastes. We're talking about purpose, finding purpose, and, it's not going to be money. Money is not going to be your ultimate purpose, but some people think there is value in it in terms of thinking about it as like a supplement to your life. Maybe it doesn't satisfy itself, but it does certainly help your life out and help it be all sorts of kinds of good. And the answer to that is kind of, no. I mean, well, yeah, but also, no, not really. It's still questionable, even as just kind of an addition to your life. Money it's just really not worth that much. And that's the consideration that we have today. So we're going to spend a chapter and a half dwelling on money and then kind of assess it. What you'll find in Ecclesiastes 5, verse 10, down through the end of chapter 6. And the reason why I've grouped these together, the reason why Ecclesiastes 5 is, half of it was last sermon and then half of it's being packaged with chapter 6 for this sermon, is when I think about chapter 5, verse 10, down through the end of chapter 6, what I see is kind of a chiasm on money. Now, if you're unaware of what a chiasm is, basically it is a Jewish literary device by which, or at least I think it's primarily a Jewish literary device. They seem to use a lot of them, through which basically the first point made and the last point made parallel each other. They're very much the same idea. The second point made and the second to last point made parallel each other, and they're very much the same idea. And basically first and last, second and second to last, third and third to last, and it all hones together into a point. It's kind of like the sideways V shape, where it comes together to make a central point, and then it fades back out and reemphasizes all of those elements that have come before it. So the main purpose is going to be these middle sections. Here, there are 6 major sections that end up being 3 points each. First and last are parallel, second and fifth are parallel, third and fourth are parallel, and that's the real center point. That's the real piece that we will dig into. But while we get there, there are a few different considerations to be had about money on the way. Basically, the point of the section is to say money is incredibly situational, and maybe it's just not worth that much. It can be helpful, sure, but maybe it's just not worth that much. Money is a thing that exists. Use it well when you have it, and then don't be too disappointed when you don't. Ecclesiastes 5, I'll start reading in verse 10, go down through the end of chapter 6. One who loves money will not be satisfied with money, nor one who loves abundance with its income. This too is futility. When good things increase, those who consume them increase. So what is the advantage to their owners except to look at them? The sleep of the laborer is sweet, but whether he eats little or much, but the full stomach of the rich person does not allow him to sleep. There is a sickening evil which I have seen under the sun, wealth being hoarded by its owner to his detriment. When that wealth was lost through bad business and he had fathered a son, then there was nothing to support him. And as he came naked from his mother's womb, so he will return as he came. He will take nothing from the fruit of his labor that he can carry in his hand. This also is a sickening evil. Exactly as a person is born, so will he die. What then is the advantage for him who labors for the wind? All his life he also eats in darkness with great irritation, sickness, and anger. Here is what I have seen to be good and fitting, to eat, to drink, and to enjoy oneself in all one's labor in which he labors under the sun during the few years of his life which God has given him, for this is his reward. Furthermore, as for every person to whom God has given riches and wealth, he has also given him the opportunity to enjoy them and to receive his reward and rejoice in his labor. This is the gift of God, for he will not often call to mind the years of his life, because God keeps him busy with the joys of his heart. There is an evil which I have seen under the sun, and it is widespread among mankind. A person to whom God has given riches, wealth, and honor, so that his soul lacks nothing of all that he desires, yet God has not given him the opportunity to enjoy these things, but a foreigner enjoys them. This is futility, and a severe affliction. If a man fathers 100 children and lives many years, however many they may be, but his soul is not satisfied with good things, and he does not even have a proper burial, then I say better than the miscarriage than he, for a miscarriage comes in futility and goes into darkness, and its name is covered in darkness. It has not even seen the sun, nor does it know it, yet it is better off than that man. For even if that man lives 1,000 years twice, but does not see good things, do not all go to one and the same place? All a person's labor is for his mouth, and yet his appetite is not satisfied. For what advantage does the wise person have over the fool? What does the poor person have, knowing how to walk before the living? What the eyes see is better than what the soul desires. This too is futility, and striving after wind. Whatever exists has already been named, and it is known what man is. For he cannot dispute with the one who is mightier than he. For there are many words which increase futility. What then is the advantage to a person? For who knows what is good for a person during his lifetime? During the few years of his futile life, he will spend them like a shadow. For who can tell a person what will happen after him under the sun? Again, when you read through those, maybe they don't all stand out as money sections, especially those last couple kind of tend towards veering away from that. And yet, when I read them and think about them, I do think they all fit into one little chiasm, one neat little thing, and I'll illustrate that as if you're watching the video. I have the slides here, and I will hopefully attempt to illustrate that as we go through. And there's 6 major points here, 6 major sections, most of these sections being, 3, maybe 4 verses each. Just little kind of reminders about what money does for you. And we start with the first one. This is going to parallel the last one. The first one is that money discomforts you. Verses 10, 11, and 12. Money. Money is great. Does it satisfy? Of course it doesn't. How many people are content with the money that they have? Not many. How many people are content with their level of promotion at work? Not many. How many people are content with their salary? Not many. Why do people always seek more? Why are people always seeking to have more hours or a higher paying job or, a better position of whatever it is? Why are people always seeking more? Because money doesn't satisfy you. Humans always want the next pay rise, and then they look for the next one after that. One who loves money will not be satisfied with money, nor one who loves abundance with its income. It's futility. How often do you need to make before you're making enough? For a lot of people, it's the next advancement. And then they advance, and then they realize, no, it's not quite enough. Actually, if I had the next advancement, it would be even better. And they keep on going. They keep on pushing it. How much do you need to make? The answer is always more. It's difficult to be content with the amount of money that you have, especially when you have money. In many ways, the more you have, the more you want to have. But the fact is, money is actually not that helpful to you. The fact is often making more money is often an irritant to you. You have verse 11 to consider. When good things increase, those who consume them increase. So what's the advantage to their owners except to look at them, right? The more money you have, the more people are going to rely on you. So what else can you do, honestly? It's kind of just like you watch the number in your bank account go up. And that's pretty cool. And then you have more and more people asking you for something. If you are rich and your friend is poor, who does your friend come to for help? Well, they know that you're friends, and they know that you're rich, and they know that you have plenty to spare, and so why not help them? You don't have a reasonable way to refuse, right? You don't have a nice way. You never really have a nice way, but you definitely don't have a reasonable way. When I have so much excess and my friend doesn't, well, then I kind of have to give to him, and it ends up being a burden and an irritation to me. We usually consider lottery winners when stuff like this is brought up. It's funny how every lottery winner suddenly has a ton of cousins that just arrive. Who knew that the family was so large? Well, it's because people figure out who you are, and then they beg from you because they know that you now have the money. They know that you have all these things for them. Money attracts people who want money, and generally, when you think about company that you want to surround yourself with, people who want to have money are not usually the first ones we would want to have around us. If that's your motivation, that's not great. Well, the more money you make, the more you inspire that kind of crowd to hang around you. That's not very good, is it? Money actually is a discomfort to you because even with all your money, all the fortune in the world can't give you a good night's sleep. That's the other consideration. Verse 12, actually, the more you have money, the more you have stuff, the more you're going to be worried about robbers, or the more you're going to be worried about your stocks going up and down, or the more you're going to be worried about your other investment, or whatever it is, the more you have, the more you worry about it. Actually, what the writer says is basically there is nothing better than to work for today and rest, rather than to store up for tomorrow and then worry about it. If I was incredibly poor, if I was incredibly poor and didn't own anything and didn't even have like a place to live, then I wouldn't worry that much about people breaking in and stealing my stuff because none of my stuff would be that valuable. As it is, I do have somewhere to live. I do have a lock on the door, which means that I'm always a little bit worried that someone might come in and break through the lock and come in because I have a couple of valuable things behind the door and they might want to have a shot at that. The less you have, the less you have to worry about. The more you have, the more you have to worry about. Sometimes we think about money and say, money provides us the safety to buy a security system. That's great. But if you didn't have money, you wouldn't need the security system because nobody would be stealing from you. That's the balancing part of it. Sometimes money is a discomfort more than an actual comfort. Consider that when you're making so much money. Maybe it's not worth it. Maybe you just don't need that much. Money discomforts. But it's more than that because it's not just that you store up money forever, because money actually decays. This is going to parallel the second to last point in the outline, but we'll get there when we get there. Money actually, it's not just that money makes you uncomfortable, but money actually doesn't last is the other thing. And so even when you store it up and you worry and you get discomfortable with it, that's great, but then it doesn't even last. So what in the world are you doing that for? Why are you going through such stress and such pain and such effort to get money when money's not actually going to remain? See, people tend to stick money in the bank so that they can use it later, but there's a problem with that, which is there's a problem under the sun, a sickening evil, wealth being hoarded by its owner to his detriment. You know what happens to wealth? You hoard it up for later, and there's not always going to be a later. And there are a few different ways you can think about this. It's not a call to waste finances, right? But it is a statement of fact. Wealth can be lost through bad business. Verse 14. When he fathered a son, there's nothing left to support him. Wealth can be lost at the end of your life. It'll definitely be lost, but we'll get there in a second. Let's just, proceed chronologically. Wealth can be lost through a bad investment, right? You buy a house. That is valuable. Houses have value, but then the market crashes, and guess what the house doesn't have? It doesn't have value anymore, and so you lose it, and the money that you were relying on, or the value you were relying on, no longer existed. You invest in stock. That has value, but then the company goes under, and guess what happens to the stock? Well, it doesn't have value anymore. Poorly timed investments can cripple your financial prosperity. Wealth is lost through bad business, and then you have nothing to support your family with. At the same time, businesses can drain resources. Family can also drain resources. When you father a son, then you have another mouth to feed. You have another person to take care of. You go from a family of 2 to a family of 3. You go from 3 to 4 or 4 to 5 or go down the list, right? You go bigger and you have more expenses. And suddenly, family, as great as family can be, they cost you more and more money. And the money that you stored up actually ends up going towards the food and the clothing, and it goes to the housing, and suddenly you can't make do with a one-bedroom apartment anymore. You can't make do with a studio, you have to have a bedroom. You can't make do with 1, you have to have 2. You can't make do with 2, you have to have 3. You go bigger and bigger. Suddenly you need more and more clothing because different ages of life have different stages of what you can wear. The food cost goes up because different people mature at different rates, and suddenly they start eating you out of house and home, and then you have to think about education, and then you have to think about college, and then you have to think about insurance as it keeps on going up. Family also drains your resources. In fact, as much as we're thinking about movement of resources in and out, we're thinking about storing money up and money coming in, and then we're thinking about expending money and money going out, right? The income and the outflow. As much as you're thinking about the movement of resources, there is only one movement, positive or negative, of resources that is assured to you in your life, and it is that when you die, you will lose everything. That's the nice thing, right? That's the funny thing to say. Verse 15, you came out naked, you came out with nothing, you go back with nothing. What money are you going to take into the afterlife or into death? If you believe that there is no afterlife, then you have nothing. And if you believe that there is an afterlife, then it's spiritual and not physical, so you have nothing. All the pharaohs can be buried in the tombs with all the gold that they want to, but they can't take it with them. That's stupid. There's a reason why, it's not good to be a tomb robber, to break into those tombs and steal their stuff, but also they're not using it at the same time. And so, it's not good to do that, but it's also not the worst thing because nobody's actually using it. It's just free money. I mean, it's the best way you can say that. The only income or outflow we are guaranteed is that at the end of your life, whatever you have, you will lose. It's a sickening evil. Exactly as a person is born, so will he die. So what's the advantage of your labor? What's the point of storing up your money when you know it's going to be lost? You don't know if any of it will be saved for any amount of time, and you do know that all of it will be lost for all eternity. So what's the point? Well, maybe you can eat. Verse 17, all his life he also eats. Well, at least you can eat. With money, you can buy food. At least you can eat. Sure, but it's not going to be pleasant. Your life is not going to be sunshine and roses and all these good things and happy-go-lucky, whatever nonsense you think it is. With money, you eat, yes, and your life is still not going to be pleasant. The point of Ecclesiastes so far, so much of this has been, your life is not pleasant. It's not going to be pleasant, and that's something that you have to deal with. This is not a call for you to waste all your finances, but it is a call to realize that cash will not always be there for you. We say that cash is king in the business environment. And yes, sure it is. It's king for running a business, but one day your business will die. Everything does. One day you'll die or you'll retire and you won't be part of the business anymore and you won't gain from it. And then what do you have? If money cannot be your eternal solution. It's not your purpose. It just doesn't sustain you to that degree. Money discomforts, so it's not that great. Money decays, so it's not that eternal. Here's something positive at the end of chapter 5. Money can give joy. That's the thing. Here's what I've seen to be good and fitting, right? This is one of those statements where it says this is what's good. In reality, right, packaged between this, it's a sickening evil that you were born with nothing, you'll die with nothing. Whatever you gain during your life, you'll lose. That's the only thing guaranteed to you. That is a sickening evil. And then he says, well, it's good to eat and drink and to enjoy oneself. It's kind of sarcastic, kind of a little ironic. Well, yeah, sure, it's good. As good as it can be. It's kind of one of these statements of there is nothing better for a man than to eat, drink, and enjoy what he has, because you're not going to have it for very long, and then you're going to die, and then you won't enjoy anything. Since you're going to die and lose everything anyway, here's the best that you can do. Use the money that you have to enjoy your life, because money can give joy in life. It can give you food, it can give you enjoyment, it can let you throw a party and enjoy yourself, it can help you have friends, it can help you, associate with people. The more money you have, the more you're able to have people over and provide for them and establish long and lasting relationships. Money can do good things. If God has blessed you with money, in verse 19, he has given you the ability to enjoy it. As for every person to whom God has given riches and wealth, he has also given him the opportunity to enjoy them and receive his reward and rejoice in his labor. That is the gift of God. If you have money, you can enjoy it. But at the same time, remember this in verse 20. In verse 20, your money can basically help you not often call to mind the years of your life when God keeps him busy with the joy of his heart. Your money can help you have peace and not worry too much about all these physical horrors that are coming your way. But at the same time, it's also not great to forget yourself entirely. If you indulge yourself to the point of forgetting your limitations, you're going to have a very rude awakening when you die one day, which you will, and when you face the judgment, which you will. And so, much like many things in this book, the command and the exhortation, the encouragement is to enjoy yourself within reason. If you're depressed all the time, that's not good. But if you're just ignoring reality all the time, that's not good either. Like so many things, there is a balance in between the two. Most people don't have that balance. They're either depressed all the time about how terrible life is, or they think that life is great because they're ignoring the reality of the situation. But we want to be in the middle. right? Do better than most people do. If you're on either extreme, that's out of balance. You need to be in the middle and understand the right way to actually be and to think about things. Money can give joy. There is a benefit to money. At the same time, as much as money can give joy, sorry, my throat is starting to hurt and die on me, which is probably not a good sign. As much as money can give joy, and as much as there's potential there, you also have to think about the flip side, which is money can just as easily remove joy. We talk about this. As for every person to whom God has given riches and wealth, He has given him the ability or the opportunity to enjoy them and receive His reward and rejoice in His labor. That's verse 19. If God has given you riches, you can enjoy your riches. At the same time, here's an evil that I've seen, chapter 6 and verse 2. A person to whom God has given riches, wealth, and honor, so that his soul lacks nothing of all that he desires, yet God has not given him the opportunity to enjoy these things, but a foreigner enjoys them. Here's the equal and opposite reaction. Remember, God has given you the ability to enjoy the money that He gave you, but the fact is that not everyone will. Not everyone does. God has given you the ability to enjoy it if He's given you money, but not everybody chooses to, and it is a choice. If you never find out how to enjoy life, if you never look to where you can enjoy life, if you never figure out how to do it, then what helps you? The fact is, nothing does. And so you can have the biggest family. If a man fathers 100 children, in verse 3, you can live the longest life. If a man lives many years, however many they may be, that doesn't matter if you continue to be unsatisfied. His soul is not satisfied with the good things, and he doesn't even have a proper burial. Then, better to be miscarried. Better to never exist. If you have all this money and yet you can't find joy in it, you can't find joy with it, if you can't learn contentment and be grateful for what you have, then it would be better to never have been born than for you to exist in the state that you are now. Some people are just going to choose to be discontent. Contentment is a choice. It's a choice to be a state of being. It's not just a thing that happens, right? If that's you, you need to change it, because if the statement, well, it's better if you were never born, is true for your life, you've misprioritized, you've missed a lot of things, and you need to change. It's bad. It's not healthy for you. It's not good. It's not righteous. It's not godly. And it's just not fun. Why would you do that? How easy is it to learn contentment? Not very. Not easy, because in a lot of ways it's not easy because of how much money we actually have. We have so much. We've been blessed so many times over. A man can be blessed to live 1,000 years twice, in verse 6. But if he doesn't see good things, then what's the point of it? What's the point of having the money? What's the point of having the life if we can't actually enjoy that? Money, sure, it can allow you to enjoy some things in life. Yes, it absolutely can. And it can also take all the joy right out of life. Think about that. Money, as much as it could be helpful, it could not be helpful. And there's an equal and opposite chance that it's a pain for you instead of being a help for you. This is, again, the centerpiece of the chiasm, is this point right here, that money can be helpful and money can not be helpful. And you kind of flip the coin and see. You get to make a choice on whether you're content or not, but ultimately, it's either good or it's not. And do you really want to roll the dice? Do you really want to pin your life on something where at any moment you can flip a coin and money can just take away all the good things that you have? Do you really want to pin your life on something that is that unsure? Probably not, if I had to guess. That's why money is not a real, valuable, eternal purpose. And with this being the center point of the chiasm, this is where the chiasm starts to go backwards. We've traced through, we've seen the central point, right? Can be helpful, can not be helpful. You have a 50-50 shot, and then you start going back, and you realize as much as money decays and it's not around in verses 13 through 17 of chapter 5, money decays and it's not around in chapter 6 and verses 7 through 9. All a person's labor is for his mouth, and guess what? His appetite isn't satisfied. Why do you work? You work to get money. Why do you get money? Because you want to get food. Why do you need food? Because it solves your hunger. And then you wake up the next day and you're hungry again. Or you wake up 3 hours later and you're hungry again. Or, you go get a snack because you're hungry again. The money that you're making is eternally going right back to the place that it came from. You get money from your office and then you spend it somewhere else, and it ends up rerouting to your office, and you get the money and then you spend it somewhere else. Wise or foolish, rich or poor, nobody has the advantage. In verse 8, what's the point? Who's beyond hunger as a need? Who's beyond the consistent revitalization of hunger as a need? It's not something that I can actually fix. It's not something that I can eternally fix, because it just keeps coming back, and day after day it gnaws at you, and your money keeps getting spent. You save up all your money over your lifetime, and then you retire, and then you have a bunch of money, and then what happens? Well, you start spending your money. And then one day, eventually, you'll either run out, or you'll die, and the rest of your money doesn't go with you, it passes on to somebody else. Be content with what you have is the best thing that you can do in the situation, because money decays, and it's not always going to be there. In verse 9, what the eyes see is better than what the soul desires. What you have in front of you is better than what you think you might have. A bird in the hand is worth two in the bush is kind of how the saying goes. Remember that whatever you do have, that also is fading away, and ultimately that is futility and striving after wind. If you put your hope in riches, you will be inestimably disappointed. They will not last. Go look somewhere else. Money is fine if it works for you, but money also decays, and then it doesn't work for you, and then it's gone. And then what do? Well, you return to money, and you're looking for money to comfort you. You're looking for money to be the answer to your situation, and ultimately the answer is, well, it doesn't do that. Again, mirroring or paralleling the first point. Money actively discomforts you, chapter 5, verses 10 through 12. Money doesn't comfort you, chapter 6, verses 10 through 12, because as much as this section kind of shifts, and it really doesn't even use monetary words at all, it doesn't even mention money right here, as much as that is true, I do think, especially, given the strength of the other rest of this parallel, I think it's here because it's very clear that money just can't do anything to help you out in the end. Whatever exists has already been named, and it is known what man is, for he cannot dispute with the one who is mightier than he is. Think about that. What does that actually mean? How do you fight someone who's stronger than you? Does money help? Well, think about it, right? How do you fight? What does money do for you when the villains come to get you? When the guy steps out of the alleyway to mug you, to take your money? What does money do for you? Maybe you give it to him and you stave off violence. Okay. Violence that only started because you had money in the first place. So it doesn't really help you, does it? What happens, what does money do when the authorities come for you to lock you up? Well, maybe you spend it to post bail, or maybe you spend it to pay off the lawsuit or whatever it is, but you're still a criminal and you still have that on your record, and it doesn't actually solve your reputational issues. What does money do for you when the ultimate authority comes in? When one who is mightier than you are to such an extreme and eternal and, infinite degree, what happens when God comes for you? What are you going to buy him off with? Money doesn't work for that. Money doesn't comfort you. It doesn't solve your problems. Even if you can buy off humans and the mugger and the corrupt authority or whatever it is, even if you can pay them a bunch of money and buy them off, what does that do? What are you going to do against the divine when God comes for you? The answer is obviously, well, you got nothing. There's a reference here. You're using many words. There are many words which increase futility. Verse 11. What then is the advantage to a person? And it's very reminiscent of chapter 5 in verses 1 through 3. Guard your steps as you go to the house of God, and approach to listen rather than to offer the sacrifice of fools, for they don't know that they are doing evil. Do not be quick with your mouth, the many words, or impulsive in your thought to bring up a matter in the presence of God. For God is in heaven and you are on the earth, therefore let your words be few. Many words and the one who is mightier than you. The dream comes through much effort, and the voice of the fool through many words. The fact is, you can try talking to buy God off, but it's not going to work. In reality, you just have to take whatever's coming your way, and money won't ultimately solve your problem. If you're looking to money for comfort, well, It actively makes you uncomfortable in life, and it actively fails, or it passively fails to provide you any comfort in life, and especially in death. As much as it can be nice sometimes, it can also not be nice sometimes, or many times, and in the end, it just doesn't provide you the value that you want it to. We spend our money, sometimes well, sometimes foolishly, often foolishly, in the pursuit of joy and in the pursuit of trying to find something that works out well for us and that is comfortable for us. But the thing is that you have to think about is it's not just money that we spend that way. We spend our lives that way. Spend our lives, sometimes wisely, often foolishly, pursuing stuff that makes us happy, pursuing stuff that makes us comfortable in life. And who really knows what is good for a person during his lifetime, during the few years of his futile life? Oh, he will spend them like a shadow. New King James doesn't use the word spend. It translates this verse a little alternately, so some translations are different. But you notice that spending, that monetary term there, that's the closest you're going to get. You know what you spend? It's your money, it's your cash that you spend, but you also spend your life, your breath, your existence, right? Every moment that I'm sitting here recording this video is a moment I'm not doing something else. Every moment that I'm sitting driving is a moment that I'm not doing something else. Every moment I spend reading a book is a moment I'm not spending with friends or family. Every moment that I'm doing something, I'm not investing in something else. And how many people spend their lives somewhat well, maybe well in some instances, but mostly foolishly. And they seek joy and they seek trying to make themselves feel better about the end that is inevitably coming, and they do the chapter 5 verse 20, they do the thing where they don't even call to mind the consequences, the years of his life, because God is keeping them busy. And then one day you wake up and you realize all that spending, you've just wasted your life. Maybe you have money at the end of it, but what has it all been for? Who knows? We spend our lives in this way. Who can advise us to get the most of it? Who can tell man? Who knows what is good for a person during his lifetime, during the few years of his futile life? Who knows that? Who knows? Who can tell a person what will happen after him under the sun? Whatever exists has already been named. Who named it? Who knows what man is in verse 11, in verse 10? Who is the one who is mightier than he is? It's telling at the end of this section. We always end up back at God's feet, don't we? Because the fact is, money doesn't take you anywhere. A lot of people seek money as an alternative thing. They think that money can save them, can deliver them, can provide them something, can give them lasting value, can provide them joy and comfort and all these other things, but they don't realize money, at the end of the day, once you've spent through it all and once you've realized how useless it all is, well, it just doesn't work now, does it? Whatever exists has already been named. God did that. It is known what man is. God knows that. Who can dispute with the one who is mightier than he is? God is mightier than we are. Who knows what is good for a person during his lifetime? God knows what is good for a man during his lifetime. Who knows? Who can tell a person what will happen after him under the sun? God can tell you. Because unlike us, God is eternal. And that's ultimately the choice you have to make. It's telling that in the Bible, it always seems to come back to God and money, right? Jesus uses that example. You can't serve two masters. You'll hate the one and love the other. You'll despise the one and serve the other. You cannot serve both God and money. And that seems, that almost seems kind of out of place, right? Why did he say that? It's just, it's, I know these two pictures, right? I love one, I hate the other. I serve one, I don't serve the other. And then why is it God and money? Why? Because those are ultimately your two choices. God gives you the ability to enjoy life. Money gives you the ability to buy things, which helps you to enjoy life sometimes. But ultimately, only one of those is going to be real and lasting. And you cannot serve both God and mammon. Maybe don't try. It's a little bit of a chiasm here, beginning to end, focused in the middle. Again, reminding you, as much as we can advocate for the good that money does, because, yeah, sometimes it does do some good, but as much as it does do some good, a lot of times it just doesn't. A lot of times it just doesn't work for us, and money can be just as much or more of a problem than it is a solution and a blessing. The futile rabbit trail of ever-increasing salary is not going to satisfy you or provide you a purpose. No, be grateful for what you have, right? Don't just jettison all your money and go around living with nothing. That's not going to be an effective or wise way to live life. But at the same time, use what you have to make life pleasant, but it's not going to last forever. And never forget what the real end is. Don't use money to cover that up. And don't remember that money can't bail you out on the last day. When God comes in judgment, who will answer him? Right? How will you answer him? You're not going to be able to pay him enough to leave you out of the judgment tally. So that's where we'll leave it today. Midway through Ecclesiastes now, finished chapter 12, and now we dive into some more generalized kind of proverb sections, at least in the next chapter or two. It's a bit of a change of pace, but it's still wise and good to consider. So hopefully we will leave it there, and in a week or two, I'll pick up the series. There are 5 Sundays in August, and I only have one Sunday evening that I only have, I'm not sure if I'm not preaching next week or maybe the week after next week, but we'll have to see. Either case, thank you for listening. Hope you enjoyed. Hope you benefited from this, and there's something wise for you to learn. In any case, I will see you next time, whatever the next time is. God bless, and see you around.